14, 15, 16.
Some relationships don't have a breakup because technically they were never relationships to begin with. No commitment, no promises, no real definition, just chemistry, convenience, and the comforting illusion that maybe someday it could become something more. A young woman navigating dating, desire, friendship, sexual health, and the consequences of believing that a situationship might eventually become a relationship. But Siraam isn't really asking whether casual relationships are good or bad. It's asking something much more uncomfortable. What happens when we realize we've been lying to ourselves about what we actually want? Welcome to The Creative Lens. This week we're looking at Siraam, a 2026 Nigerian short film written and directed by Uzoamaka Power.
Cheers.
And because this film is already available on YouTube, this isn't a trailer review. We're talking about the movie itself. The story. At the center of the film is Siraam, an aspiring actress, trying to figure out her career, her relationships, and perhaps most importantly, herself. She is involved with Zubi, a man who occupies that increasingly familiar space in modern dating. Close enough to feel like a boyfriend, but distant enough to avoid actually being one. And then everything changes. A pregnancy scare, an infection, a relationship that suddenly looks very different when the fantasy is removed. And instead of simply turning Siraam into a cautionary tale, the film allows her to be messy. She makes decisions. Some are questionable, some are understandable, and some she probably knows aren't going to end well. But that's precisely what makes the character interesting. Siraam isn't written as a perfect woman making perfect choices. She's written as a woman trying to understand herself while making mistakes in real time. The situationship. And this is where I think Siraam finds its strongest voice, because situationships have become almost a language of their own. You spend time together, you are intimate, you talk regularly, you might even act like a couple, but when the difficult question comes, so what are we? Suddenly, nobody knows. And Zubi represents that ambiguity. The problem isn't necessarily that Siraam doesn't understand what is happening, it's that she may be hoping the relationship will eventually become what she wants it to be. And that's a very human form of romantic delusion. We don't always fall in love with the person. Sometimes, we fall in love with the possibility of who that person could become. Sexual health. But Siraam also deserves credit for something Nigerian films don't always handle comfortably. Sexual health, the pregnancy scare, the infection, the conversations about condoms, the awkwardness surrounding sexual responsibility. The film doesn't treat these conversations like something that needs to be hidden behind euphemisms. And that's important, because young people are already having these conversations. The question is whether our stories are willing to have them honestly. Siraam doesn't preach. Instead, it puts sexual health inside the messiness of everyday life. And I think that makes the message more effective. Friendship. But one of my favorite elements is the friendship. Because sometimes, when your romantic life is falling apart, the people who know you best become the real emotional safety net. The conversations between the women feel less polished, more uncomfortable, and more honest. And that's important because Siraam isn't simply a story about sex or dating. It's also about having people around you who can tell you the truth when you're too emotionally involved to see it yourself. Where the film falls short. The film isn't perfect, and this is where I think Siraam could have gone even further. Her career as an aspiring actress is introduced, but it doesn't receive enough attention. And that's a missed opportunity. Because imagine if the film had explored the connection between Siraam's professional ambitions and her personal choices. A young woman trying to establish herself in an industry while simultaneously trying to understand her value in relationships could have given the story another powerful dimension. Instead, that part of her identity sometimes feels like background information. And because the runtime is short, some emotional developments happen quickly. The film raises interesting questions, but occasionally moves on before allowing those questions to really settle. The bigger question. But perhaps that's also why Siraam works. It doesn't try to solve everything. It simply puts a young woman in the middle of a complicated situation and lets us watch her figure things out. And maybe that's the point. Growing up isn't always about making the right decision. Sometimes, you make the foolish decision. You deal with the consequences. You learn something, and then you try not to make the same mistake twice. That's life, and that's what makes Siraam feel relatable. Verdict. So, is Siraam worth watching? Absolutely. It's not a perfect short film. There are characters and ideas I wish had been explored further. But it is honest, it's relevant, and it creates space for conversations that are often uncomfortable. For me, the creative lens rating is 6.75 out of 10.
Mama will be leaving today. Once she leaves, someone will need to be home with Faisola.
A short film with something meaningful to say, even if it doesn't always give itself enough time to say everything. And perhaps the most interesting thing about Siraam isn't whether Siraam made the right choices. It's whether we've ever convinced ourselves that something was a relationship simply because we wanted it to be one.
And that brings us to the end of this week's Creative Lens. But now I want to hear from you. Have you watched Siraam? And what did you think of Siraam's choices? And that situationship, did you see it ending the way it did? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, keep watching, keep questioning, and keep your lens sharp.